Hey guys, welcome back to Dizzle in Motion. Well, that didn't take very long, did it? It looks like Captain Save-A-Ho himself, Rob Bonta, the AG out in California, is already leading a coalition of about 16 states led by CARB in California to fight the power and fight back against the EPA and everything Lee Zeldin announced yesterday. I'm just going to go ahead and read through some of the stuff. Now, before I do, what's interesting is here's a screenshot of January, not yesterday, where I had already kind of explained to you guys the EPA grants waivers so that California can set more strict standards on their own accord and show cause to do so. And then they got rescinded when Trump was in, they got reinstated when Biden came back, and then some of them got rescinded again, with Trump coming in. And then they actually even rescinded some of their applications for the waivers at the end of this year in December and January when they knew Trump had already he was going into office. So they pulled back some of their own stuff purposely. But so it's kind of funny. It's basically the same song and dance, but they want to appear strong, like they're doing something. They had already lost the appeals case. They went through the appellate court fighting for the waivers last April. So this has all already been going on. They're just using Lee Zeldin's announcement yesterday of the 31 things that they're rolling back and or changing with the EPA to springboard Gavin Newsom and Rob Bonta and all of the cronies into the spotlight again. Now, one of the negatives here is, well, depending on how you look at it, if any waiver that California is granted can be transferred to another state. So California is currently the only state out of all of them that have some of these waivers because there was deadlines to fire certain ones. So like their zero emissions by 2035, for example, their diesel stuff with the RVs and all these annoying things that you guys talk about in the comments, those kind of waivers that California's been getting away with, that's what's at stake here. And the problem is, like I said, if California is granted one of these waivers, then they can, I don't know if it's grandfather or whatever, it's allowed to be adopted by another state. So what's interesting is these 16 states that are standing with California, some of them are actually red states, which was surprising to me. Anyway, I'm just gonna read through you the statement today from Rob Bonta. Again, that's the AG, care of Gavin Newsom and whatever, and then I'll bring it back with my closing thoughts. All right, so basically the long and short of this is Rob Bonta filed a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court to basically reevaluate a case that's been going on since 2012 between an energy company and the EPA, which was basically giving CARB extra standards enforcement, which is the crux of 90% of these legal fights. So this case will determine if California has the standing to circumvent what the EPA set out to do yesterday. So that's the long and short of it. So in 2012, California set a bunch of crazy standards to get to the zero emission vehicles and stuff like that. It's been fought, it got lost, and now it's come back again because they're saying basically they don't have standards, or a standing rather, for the Court of Appeals. So the only way that California can win now is the Supreme Court, which you know who controls it. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's all it is. It's more, just like I said, it's just a continuation of what we had in January, what was fought in last April of last year. And this is going to slow roll itself all the way up to a showdown in probably the Supreme Court, which is, of course, conservative tilting at the moment. So the likelihood of real progress being made here on the California stuff is very high. The Clean Air Act, it's pretty clear on stuff. I feel like California and CARB have done nothing but skirt the intent of that act the whole time, or else why would you need waivers? If things were functioning in the way they were supposed to, you shouldn't need a waiver. It should just be the law of the land, right? We shouldn't have special rules. It's kind of like the IRS and tax stuff. I feel like there's exceptions and loopholes and crap. It's like, dude, just make the regulations the regulations. I feel like that's all it needs to be, right? Anyways, agree, disagree, what do you guys think? I know there's like the negative Nancys out there that I guess will never happen. I'm like, dude, if it's ever gonna happen, it's gonna happen now. A lot of this crap's gonna get repealed. The diesel deletes, everything that is on most of people's wish list. If it's gonna happen, it's going down this year. Anyway, stay tuned for further updates and news on CARB emissions and more stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a fat like so I can make 0.01 cent per video. And thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.